I grew up in upstate New York, just in Buffalo, New York, near Niagara Falls. For international folks, usually know that town better. And just always knew from a young age that I wanted to be a writer. And, that sort of led me to go to the Newhouse School of Journalism, Public Communications at Syracuse University for my bachelor's. And, really just kind of was trying to figure out, whether they didn't have jobs for the great American novelist. And I wanted to be a magazine writer, and those were hard jobs to get. So I started out in daily newspaper reporting, and then that led me into the PR world, where I had a couple of jobs early in my career, working as a PR director at 2 universities, and also on a couple of Olympic Games. And then I started my own firm in 1990. It's been 30 years now that I've been in this space. And then just I always just followed whatever I thought was something that interested me personally, and that I thought would be growing faster than the economy overall. In the 90s, that was video games and consumer electronics. And I always figured if I learned about technologies before the reporters did, they would always take my call, because I could, clue them into what's hot before they know about it, or explain what it does. And the internet was sort of the first big, break. In 1992, I started dabbling with it. And in 93, I started what was the seed of what became Internet Wire, which became Marketwire. As a spinoff from my PR firm. It was the first internet-based press release distribution company, which was funded by Sequoia. But before we spun that off, the Terpin group was my first PR firm, and we represented, both big companies like TIAC and Shin'On, and we were the agency of record for Konami in the video game world for many years. And then also just did an awful lot of the dot-coms of the era. That was sort of the ICO of 20 years ago, and sold that firm in 2000, just as I pivoted to take money in from Sequoia to expand the Marketwire. And Marketwire then was sold in 2006. We partnered with NASDAQ to come up with the name Marketwire to expand it beyond just the internet, because we weren't just for internet companies. We were using internet versus satellite as a protocol. And that was brand new back in the early 90s, and we quickly took a lot of market share. And it then, the NASDAQ merged it later on with a satellite network that was called Prime Zone. It's now called the combined entity is called GlobeNewswire, and NASDAQ sold it about 1.5 years ago to Apollo, $9 billion company in the New York Stock Exchange. I sold my first PR firm to a roll-up that then ended up with FT Consulting, which is also New York Stock Exchange, multi-billion-dollar companies. So perhaps I have one more exit left in my career to a multi-billion-dollar company, and then I can just go and play with what I really love to do, which is helping entrepreneurs with startups and watching them go from nothing to something. Meeting Vitalik for the first time, and when he first had the pre-white paper, and other folks seeing him go from I think the blockchain is one of the fastest growing spaces where you can see something going from an idea to a really accepted protocol, and the speed with which that happened from 2013 when I first got in through I'd say about early 2018 when the frenzy kind of peaked, and regulators around the world decided they wanted to slow it down with not so much regulation, but vague regulation and enforcement actions. And that's sort of where we're sitting now. And I think the coronavirus pandemic is going to make, some proposals to let people invest money willingly into startups a little bit easier than it's been before. But we'll get to that later. So I started Transform after, again, Social Radius was one of the early social media companies that I started after selling Marketwire. And that kind of rolled into doing big company social media for places like Philips and, Marriott were some of our clients, and Bombay Sapphire. And then, starting with early startup companies in the Bitcoin space in early 2013, including the first ICO. And that's really where I started in early 2013 as well. Started BitAngels with David Johnston, who I met at the first Bitcoin Foundation conference, and we've done a number of things over the years together. And we can talk about where BitAngels has gone from kind of a ragtag DIY effort around a lunch table at the Bitcoin Foundation to where we've been up to about 15 cities before the lockdowns, and now we're doing virtual BitAngels. We have one on this Friday. You can go to bitangels.network and find out about that. And today we actually, in about an hour, have this won't air until then, but this is mid-April I'm talking. But just go to the sites and see what's up next. Coinagenda.com for Coinagenda. I really envisioned as being the Goldman Sachs conference of crypto. Because so many conferences were multi-purpose. They'd have a track on investing, they'd have a track on consensus mechanisms, they would have a track on libertarian philosophies, and people would come to see my track on investing, and they say, well, I love what your panel said or what your keynote said, but I had no idea what everybody else was talking about. And so I thought, to get the traditional investing community involved in Bitcoin and blockchain, we needed to have both a network with BitAngels, and then what started as an annual conference, we got up to 5 times a year in 2018, when we had Europe, Asia, a summit, our global conference in Las Vegas, and then our Caribbean conference in Puerto Rico, which we just had in February before everything locked down. And we're still hoping to have our 7th annual global conference in October in Las Vegas. We'll just see how much the city has opened up and whether we'll be able to do it at a casino or whether we're going to do it at a university. We did half of it at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas last year, and it might be easier just with social distancing and all that.